we're going to do is go over loading and unloading of the stretcher. To release the stretcher from the ambulance, you're going to push this knob forward until it locks, and then pull the ambulance out to the left, or the stretcher out to the right side. You'll pull the ambulance out, and then squeeze this handle over to the left-hand bar. When you squeeze that handle, then you pull out, and then you'll want to have somebody catch the wheels for you, and then the wheels will drop down to the ground. At that point, you release the handle, and the wheels should lock. Then, up at the front, there's a safety catch that catches the stretcher. You'll pull that up, and you can do that in one of two ways. There is a handle here that you can use to release the latch, or some people find it easier to just actually grab the bar and lift it up. Just be careful if you do that you don't get pinched. Okay? Raising and lowering the stretcher, these Bonheurs are two-man stretchers. You can't really operate them with one person with a patient on it. There are a few things that you can do with one person when there's not a patient on it. One of those, and it's on this side, there's a handle located right here. There's a handle located right here next to this handrail that you can use without a patient on there to raise and lower the stretcher by yourself to an appropriate height. There are a couple of different ways that people have found to do this, so I'll show you two different ways that most people have said are easy, and then I'll let you decide which one you think is the best for you. What I like to do is I put my foot on the wheel carriage here, and then lift with this hand, and squeeze the handle. Okay? Once the handle is squeezed, the stretcher can be raised or lowered however you wish. When you release the handle, then that locks it into place. Okay? If you choose that method, then as you're going up, you can extend your leg, which pushes out the undercarriage of the stretcher and helps to raise it up so that it's not all upper body. Some people find that difficult, and if you do, then if you have longer arms, or if you find that reaching across the stretcher is easier for you, then you can reach across, squeeze, and then raise the stretcher up. You have to be careful if you're doing that not to hurt your back, because it does kind of force you to bend over. So that's why I prefer the other method that you can do that's most comfortable for you. Okay. On the end of the stretcher, you'll notice a handle. This handle can be used to pull the stretcher so that you're not having to bend over constantly, and that will help make life a little bit easier. Something else that we do at PD Flight that a lot of places don't do, we do use actual sheets on our stretcher, and then we think that our appearance and our presentation to referrings is very important. So we're the face of the hospital, and we walk in as a billboard, and our equipment is equally as important how it looks when we come in. So we have a strap system that we've set up that makes the straps look nice and presents a nice clean stretcher when you come in. And I'd like to show you how to put those on properly. A lot of times you'll find that the stretchers are not this way, which is my pet peeve. So if you see one that's not, I would appreciate it if you would set it up appropriately. Put the strap in as normal, tighten it down, okay? Then you're going to make a triangle. Hold at the tip here, pull the strap up to the top, and then just come through halfway, okay? And it makes a nice clean 90 degree. It keeps the straps out from under the wheels, which you'll notice over time, the straps get nasty, the plastic pieces will start breaking off, and so forth, and that all happens because the strap ends up on the ground up under the wheels. So even when you have a patient on board, if you can strap it and then tuck the straps so that they don't hang down and get caught in the wheels and the other, functional parts of the stretcher that get grease on them and everything else. If for some reason you need to raise and lower the rails, this stretcher has a plastic rail guard, so you can pull there. The other stretcher does not, and you can just pull this pin. When you pull the pin, then you pull the rail down, and then you can slide it back up. For some reason it gets stuck, and you just pull the pin out, and it will allow it to go back in. The last part about the stretcher is raising and lowering the head. Both of our stretchers have a hydraulic on them, so if you squeeze this button, then the head will come up, and then you kind of have to use a pretty good bit of force, but you pull down once the button's pressed and the head comes down. So you can set it to wherever it is that you need it. The other thing is both of our stretchers do have a cottonette, so you can put monitor or any other piece of equipment that you find necessary. We'll also keep gloves, and we usually keep a tank wrench and some things along those lines here, so that, you know, if for some reason you need it, they're close at hand anytime you're out of the front. Oh, one other thing I'll show you about the stretcher is if for some reason you are going into a tight space, which going to hospitals, usually we don't have that problem, but occasionally inside of a room or what have you, we will. You can actually raise the head of the bed up like so, and then release the back half of this stretcher where it will drop down, and you can, you'll shorten the wheelbase. To do that, pull on both handles here out, and then just allow the stretcher to fall down here. And then you can see that that significantly, shortens the stretcher and will allow you to get into a lot of places you otherwise wouldn't. To raise and lower the stretcher, it's a two-man stretcher, but it's one-man control. So whoever's at the foot, that would be me, has all of the controls for the stretcher. So what you're going to want to do is grab hold of the stretcher, both you and your partner. You're going to want to lift to get the weight off of the stretcher, squeeze the handle, and then you can go down. When you get to where you want to stop, you release the handle. Okay? If for some reason you're squeezing the handle and it's not wanting to release, that means that there is too much weight on the stretcher, and if you pull it, it's going to actually fall down. So if you're meeting a significant amount of resistance trying to release the stretcher, then you and your partner are not prepared to hold the weight of what's on the stretcher. Okay? All of our Bonheur stretchers, with the exception of the power lift, are rated for 500 pounds. So anybody over 500 pounds should not be placed on one of these stretchers. The power lift stretcher is rated for 700 pounds, and that's an isolette only. So we don't have any stretchers greater than 500 pounds. And if we have a patient that meets those criteria, then we'll ask another service with bariatric capabilities to do that. Okay. The other thing that I want to point out on the stretcher is the pinch points just to watch out for. When you raise and lower the stretcher, there's going to be a pinch point here, and then there's also going to be a pinch point here, where as the stretcher comes down, those things are going to press against the undercarriage and will pinch your fingers or cut them off. So don't make sure that any appendages are away as the stretcher goes down.